Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Donald Trump is scheduled to take oath of office as the 47th US president today. Executive orders on immigration, energy policy and federal government operations expected on day one. Jubilation, gratitude and fulfillment fill Israeli homes after the first hostages are released by Hamas after 14 months of captivity. Geopolitical and economic uncertainty, trade tensions, climate goals and artificial intelligence to dominate Davos agenda as the 54th edition of the World Economic Forum kicks off. Religious fervor assembles at Prayagraj as millions continue to take holy dip. Donald Trump will be inaugurated as the 47th US president today in a star-studded event that will be attended by a galaxy of foreign dignitaries, including India's External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar. The inauguration event was supposed to take place in front of the Capitol, but was shifted indoors due to the freezing weather conditions in the wake of an Arctic blast. Now, along with Trump, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance will also take the oath of office, following which Trump will deliver his inaugural address. Foreign leaders expected at the inauguration are Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Argentinian President Javier Milei, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, India's External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar and others. The Russian President Vladimir Putin was not invited, though Trump hinted at a separate meeting later. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky are also among the notable absentees. Now, earlier on Sunday, Donald Trump said, and his Vice President-elect, that is J.D. Vance, they laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C., continuing a tradition for incoming leaders ahead of their inauguration. They were joined by their families, including Melania Trump and Usha Vance, along with National Security Cabinet nominees Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, Elise Stefanik, and Doug Collins. On the eve of his inauguration, the President-elect Donald Trump staged a campaign-like rally in frigid Washington, D.C., at the Capital One Arena, where he and his supporters celebrated his win. Now, during his speech, Trump touched on various subjects, including the Middle East ceasefire, TikTok, and also his first-day actions as president expected. Here's the report.
US President-elect Donald Trump rallied his supporters at Capital One Arena in downtown Washington, D.C., just a day before his inauguration. The event marked his first major address in Washington since his speech on January 6, 2021, the day of the Capitol attack. In his address, Trump said that he will pardon many of more than 1,500 people convicted or charged in connection with the Capitol attack. Trump repeated his campaign pledge to launch the largest deportation effort in US history, which would eventually remove millions of immigrants. Trump further said he would impose severe limits on immigration on his first day in office.
The border security measures I will outline in my inaugural address tomorrow will be the most aggressive, sweeping effort to restore our borders. We will quickly reestablish control of our sovereign territory and borders. We will expel every single illegal alien, gang member, and migrant criminal operating on American soil and remove the savage gang Tren de Aragua from the United States. Every radical and foolish executive order of the Biden administration will be repealed within hours of when I take the oath of office.
Trump's advisor and world's richest man, Elon Musk, also addressed the crowd. Musk said that he is looking forward to make changes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, little X just followed me on the stage here. He's a very enthusiastic supporter, as you can see. Woo! Yeah.
Washington, D.C. is buzzing with thousands of Trump supporters as officials rush to ensure that the inauguration ceremony can go ahead indoors due to inclement weather. Supporters of Trump shared their disappointment about the inauguration ceremony being moved indoors because of unusually cold weather.
Very disappointed because this was all last minute change, and I reserved right after the election, and because of the Los Angeles fires, we contemplated whether or not to come. We ended up deciding to come, and then we heard about the blizzard, so that was another reason why not to come, but it was just too important to miss it. So we ended up coming, and now we're just, winging it and seeing where we can go and what we can do. It's just great to meet all these people too. Actually, this is well worth it.
I want to show Mr. Trump's support. That's the most important thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be this wet or this cold for any other person but Mr. Donald Trump. He deserves this. He deserves this position. He deserves to win. And I just want to be here to let him know that we care.
This event has served as a capstone to one of the most remarkable comebacks in American political history. Trump, his loyal allies, and his political movements are joyous and promising fundamental change starting from the day he takes oath of office. And he will be back in this arena in less than 24 hours to address his supporters, but this time as the President of the United States of America. Bureau Report, BD India.
And let's break the story down for you with Shubhendu Ghosh is joining me. He's joining me from the newsroom, and Professor Swalan Singh, professor at the School of International Studies at JNU, is also joining me. Let me first start with you, Shubhendu. Now, we saw in that clip, clearly it's raining. But is Trump setting a new precedent also by changing the venue of his inauguration? After all, it's not really that cold. It's only about -4, according to what Google gives us the temperature for this time of the year.
Well, Mark, there are some unprecedented aspects to the oath ceremony of the new president. I'll come to the weather in a bit, but usually the inauguration of a U.S. president is seen as a domestic event. You have ambassadors of different countries present apart from the leaders from the nation. But here we also see leaders, a galaxy of leaders being invited who also happen to be, in a way, friends with Donald Trump. So in that sense, it is something unique that we're going to witness as far as Trump's inauguration is concerned. The weather, it's a bit of a dampener. It is hovering around -4. It is said to be one of the coldest inauguration days ever in Washington, D.C. Also, keep in mind the outgoing president who's going to be present at the ceremony is 82 years old. The incoming president is 78. Perhaps indoor is going to be nicer and warmer. There also were leaders who are going to be present. Also, thousands of spectators who were hoping to watch the ceremony unfold on the stairs of the Capitol. They will have another place to experience it from, the Capital One Arena, where Donald Trump addressed earlier. That area has been kept for thousands of spectators, around 20,000, to sit down and on big screens they can watch the inaugural ceremony as it proceeds inside the Capitol complex. The Capitol complex, the interiors will have limited space, of course. About 600 people will be accommodated there, only the key leaders. But Trump has said that once the inauguration is over, he will once again visit the Capital One Arena and address all the people who had come to witness the historic day.
But also, Shubhendu, what's expected in terms of executive orders on day one? He says very clearly that, he's going to change a lot of things.
That's right, Mark. There is a sense of blitzkrieg once he comes into office. He does mention very clearly in last evening's address that he will seek to, within an hour, undo a number of what he calls radical decisions taken by the Biden administration. So that is one. In a broader perspective, 3 issues stand out. One would be dealing with the challenge of illegal immigration. deporting 11 million illegal immigrants is no easy task. What is the manner in which it's going to happen? The borders are going to be closed immediately, is what he had suggested, so that the influx of illegal immigrants could be stopped. The second issue is going to be economy. That is at the heart of how he was voted into part, especially the middle class of America, the cost of living crisis, the manner in which it is bitten ordinary Americans. We'll have to wait and watch what are the immediate first steps that he takes in terms of tax cuts to bring relief to ordinary Americans. And third would be the manner in which America is perceived globally, especially in its engagement in global conflicts,
Right.
the Ukraine-Russia conflict in particular. What is his first announcement, the manner in which he would want to bring it to a quick close, the manner in which we see a ceasefire successfully, at least beginning in Gaza, is something that we'll have to look out for. Mark?
Thank you, Shubhendu Ghosh, for joining us and putting those things into context for us. Let's turn now to our expert, Professor Swaran Singh, for his expert opinion. You know, Professor Singh, is too much being read into who's who at this inauguration? What message is Trump sending out?
I think it's interesting, as the report just showed us on your television. It's first time that it's no longer a domestic event. A good number of international dignitaries, including India's foreign minister, is going to be among the guests there. So in that sense, in some sense, it is becoming a kind of an international event, not just a domestic event in United States. Second, as several experts have already said, including Indian foreign minister, this promises to begin a new era in international relations where the focus of US presidency is going to be much more domestic in terms of making America great again, rather than focusing on rearranging, reorganizing, stabilizing the global orders and so on. In that sense, the fact that there is also consensus about President Trump being seen as someone who's unpredictable would, I think, keep several world leaders very, very carefully on the toes, if I can say, to watch each of his speeches. He is very flamboyant and very direct in the words he uses in his speeches and the kind of blitzkrieg that he wants to unleash as soon as the oath-taking ceremony is over. So that does rattle, I suppose, several people around the world, several other partners and foes alike. But I think each next hour is going to be interesting to watch, as he's also going to address the nation after inauguration ceremony is over.
Indeed, Professor Singh, how quickly do you think Trump will contact Putin? He's indicated that's a priority.
Indeed, I think he's left no kind of confusion on that subject, whether it is during his election speeches or since he's become designated president, that this is one of his top priorities to arrange an early meeting with President Putin. And I suppose we are already seeing reports of his advisors beginning to work on meetings with President Putin, President Xi Jinping. He even spoke on phone as a designated president. And then, of course, also with regard to his meeting with Indian Prime Minister, who's going to Paris next month, where President Trump is also invited, that potentially could be their first chance to meet. They know each other very well. So in that sense, I think, yes, when he looks at his foreign visits and he looks at his leaders he wants to meet, President Putin is quite a top priority, as we have seen in all his speeches so far.
With many billionaires in this administration, do you see, average American interests being substituted by, let's say, the American dream being succeeded by, a few people? Biden, in fact, was worried about America becoming an oligarchy.
Indeed, I think that is an interesting new trend.
DL, WhatsApp audio.
That's an interesting new trend. Sorry for this phone call.
No problem.
That we see that this time the tech billionaires are also among the guests there. And we noticed that particularly the way Elon Musk has been able to project himself as someone who's very, very close to President Trump and is beginning to talk in terms of influencing not just the domestic politics, but also politics across the world, particularly among several European partner nations. Does give that picture of tech billionaires, as we call them, or tech entrepreneurs, beginning to influence policy. But we also need to remember that the the kind of major support base of President Trump is the blue collar industry workers in that sense. So, I'm sure is going to be very careful. Indeed, we already see that certain gulf of his focus and the focus of some of these tech billionaires. So I assume that he will have to keep in mind his kind of main vote base.
Right.
Maybe to the middle class, it's going to be a little more challenging times with the life becoming more expensive in that sense. But we'll have to see each time as the things unfold, and he often can be unpredictable, as I keep saying.
Finally, Professor Swaran Singh, what's expected, from the India-US Comprehensive Global and Strategic Partnership? How will it get a boost?
Definitely, there are areas where India will have to work very carefully in terms of overcoming some of the new challenges, but also areas where India can become very interesting, partly because if there are going to be trade wars with China, that would create additional space, not just in terms of geopolitics, but in terms of solid economic relationship, partnership, and so on. Trump very clearly has repeatedly said his focus is going to be on manufacturing sector that he wants to strengthen and revive. We could explore some partnerships in that because India has been also focused on Make in India, and Advantage India is the capability to give, boost to production at a very low cost levels.
Right.
And if America wants to stay competitive in global stage, then maybe some kind of partnerships could be explored in certain areas, for example, in technology, in medicine, in some of the sectors like automobiles, where again, Elon Musk is very interested to come and produce textile in India, and he wants some tax cuts and so on. So yes, there are going to be areas where India and United States will find it very, easy to work with each other, but also some of the issues because the focus of American president is very clearly to make America great again. So that kind of tough bargaining is likely to take place. We are seeing possibility of informal meeting of 4 Quad ministers.
Yes.
And of course, potentially formal meeting once Marco Rubio is approved. His name is approved by the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee. So India is also quite on the cards in that sense of where President Trump wants to engage.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor Swaran Singh. Thank you for helping us understand the subject in greater detail. Now, moving on to our next story. In fact, it's the same story. The Reliance Industries chairman, Mukesh Ambani, and the Reliance Foundation chairperson, Neeta Ambani, posed for a photo with the US President-elect Donald Trump a day before his swearing-in ceremony in Washington, D.C. The Ambanis attended a private reception and fireworks display at the Trump National Golf Club in Virginia. Trump's inauguration ceremony will feature a number of high-profile attendees, and the Indian business tycoons will be one of the most notable names on the guest list. India's External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar, who is in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration ceremony of the US President-elect Donald Trump, held meetings with his counterparts from Australia and Japan. He posted on social media. Jai Shankar expressed happiness over his meetings with the Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya. The two leaders, they reviewed the progress in bilateral cooperation and also discussed developments related to the Quad. In another post, Dr. Jai Shankar said that he enjoyed his discussion on the state of the world with the Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong. Quad grouping comprises India, Australia, Japan, and the United States. And still to come here on DD India News Hour. TikTok gets a fresh lease of life. It's likely to be 50% US owned. Hundreds of Salvadorians are on the streets in protest against a new law that reactivates metallic mining in their country. And Russia opens a criminal investigation into allegations that Ukrainian troops have killed civilians.
Timeless, boundless, and infinite. The essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture, from the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic world's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Mahakumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Our next story, in a major development for social media users, TikTok has begun restoring its services in the United States. This comes after the President-elect Donald Trump intervened to ensure that this popular app remains available for about 170 million Americans who use it. The move allows a series of legal and political challenges, including national security concerns surrounding the app's Chinese ownership. Aarti Rana reports.
As of today, TikTok is back.
TikTok's comeback is the result of behind-the-scenes negotiations between Team Trump and the Chinese tech giant ByteDance, which owns the app. Earlier, TikTok confirmed that it was in the process of restoring service for its US users following a weekend of uncertainty. This all began after President-elect Trump made it clear he wanted to keep the app available to millions of Americans despite national security concerns regarding TikTok's data collection practices. While TikTok has not yet been made available for download, the company is working with service providers to restore full functionality across the platform. In a statement, TikTok expressed gratitude to President-elect Trump for his efforts to ensure the platform remains active, but did not address Trump's call for part American ownership of the app. This development comes amid escalating tensions between the US and China. Earlier this week, the Chinese embassy in Washington accused the US government of using unfair state power to suppress TikTok, while also pledging to protect Chinese interests. For years, President Trump has raised concerns about TikTok's parent company ByteDance, but Trump's opinion has shifted in recent months. In the 2024 election, he praised the app for helping him connect with younger voters, even admitting he has a warm spot for the platform.
We'll take a look at TikTok. You know, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok has something to do with that. Now, Joe Rogan did, and some of the other people that were recommended by my son Barron, he knew names. I said, who is that? Tell me, who's that? Dad, you gotta be kidding. I can't believe you don't know. And I did those interviews, and it was actually sort of cute. Do you want to know the truth? But we did them, and that had an impact. But TikTok had an impact, and so we're taking a look at it.
Although the future of TikTok in the United States remains uncertain, with talks of a potential sale still looming. In 2020, the Trump administration pushed for a deal where American companies like Oracle and Walmart would acquire stakes in the app. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
And emotions are running high on both sides of the divide as a hostage prisoner swap brought joy to the kith and kin of the captives released from Gaza and the prisoners released from Israel. So this comes as the truce deal between Israel and Gaza finally comes into force. Let's look at this report.
For much of past 14 months, West Asia was a scene of utter devastation and anguish. War clouds hung heavy on the horizon and continuous fighting upended life across the borders. After months of devastation and strikes, the news of the hostage deal came as a whiff of fresh air. The first swap proved beyond doubt that this was perhaps the most riveting scene for residents on both sides of the divide. 3 Israeli hostages, Romy Gunen, Emily Damery, and Doron Steinbrecher, released by Hamas on the first day of the truce with Israel. After months of anguish and uncertainty, Israeli hostages freed from Hamas captivity finally reunited with their families, sharing tearful and heartwarming moments. The tears were of joy, relief, and closure as the separated ones finally met. Months of emotional and physical trauma gave way to tears and hugs as the hostages reunited with their families. Such was the joy of the reunion that friends and families wanted to share it with everyone, including this reporter who was hoisted by them while being on air up onto their shoulders amid name chanting of one of the released hostages. Amid fireworks and a jubilant atmosphere in West Bank, loud cheers jostled with car honks announced the arrival of two buses which arrived carrying Palestinian prisoners released from the Israeli detention. In Beitunia, buses carrying the freed inmates arrived amid cheers and chants with several climbing atop the vehicles. As per reports, the next hostage prisoner swap would take place this week. Though only 3 Israeli hostages have been released by Hamas, the sight of them embracing their families has no doubt kept the flickering flame of hope alive for the families of remaining hostages. They are now more than hopeful that sooner than later they will have their loved ones back home. Antra Sinha for DD India.
Well, the World Health Organization has expressed its readiness to pour aid into Gaza during the Israel-Hamas truce, saying that it would need systematic access across the territory to do so. The WHO chief, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, welcomed the ceasefire, adding that addressing the massive health needs and restoring the health system in Gaza will be a complex and challenging task. Given the scale of the destruction, operational complexity and constraints involved, while the United Nations health body was ready to scale up the response to address the territory's critical needs, it said in a statement that it is critical that the security obstacles hindering operations are removed. Meanwhile, humanitarian aid trucks entered Gaza on Sunday following a long-awaited ceasefire agreement. The trucks crossed into Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing after a delay due to a dispute over the release of hostages. As the Russia-Ukraine conflict continues, Russia has opened a criminal investigation into allegations that Ukrainian troops killed civilians in a Russian village that had been seized by Kiev's army. Ukraine has taken dozens of border settlements under its control in its western Russian Kursk region, where around 2,000 civilians still live in areas under its occupation. Russia's investigative committee, which probes major crimes on Sunday, alleged Ukrainian troops had committed the murder of at least 7 civilians who were sheltering in the basement of a residential house in the village of Rusko-Porinchnoy. The 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum begins in Davos in Switzerland. Geopolitical and economic uncertainty, trade tensions, climate goals and artificial intelligence will dominate the Davos agenda. During this 5-day-long meeting, around 3,000 leaders, and they come from about 130 countries, discussing innovative strategies to revitalize growth, harness transformative technologies, empower individuals and communities, protect the planet and drive collaboration. The attendees will include European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and Ukraine's President as well, Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, Donald Trump, who will be sworn in later today, will be addressing this meeting virtually on January 23. India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Pabitra Margarita, is on the last leg of his 3-nation visit, and this is to the Philippines, the Republic of Palau, and the Federated States of Micronesia. The Indian minister, during his visit to the Federated States of Micronesia, held wide-range discussions on bilateral issues of mutual interest with Micronesia's Secretary of the Department of Foreign Affairs, Lauren S. Robert. The two leaders also discussed ways to strengthen the bilateral relationship and development cooperation between India and the FSM. More stories now from around the world. Hundreds of people on Monday marched in San Salvador against a newly approved mining law by President Nayib Bukele, and this law reactivated metallic mining in that country, which had banned it in 2017. Ahead of the February 9 presidential elections in Ecuador, 16 candidates participated in the first presidential debate. The topics for the debate included security, crime prevention, economic growth, and job creation. Bright red decorations, thousands of lanterns, and festive cheers have filled the streets in cities across China as the country prepares for the upcoming Spring Festival celebration. The Spring Festival is the most important annual holiday in China, centering around the Chinese Lunar New Year, which falls on January 29. And still to come here on DD India News Hour. Jammu and Kashmir battles a mystery disease, and the Indian Army has stepped in to help the administration. Two-day third National Mines Ministers Conference is on in Konark in Odisha. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Donald Trump is scheduled to take oath of office as the 47th President of the United States today. And executive orders on immigration, energy policy, federal government operations are expected on day one. Jubilation, gratitude, fulfillment fill Israeli homes after the first hostages are released by Hamas after 14 months of captivity. Geopolitical and economic uncertainty, trade tensions, climate goals and artificial intelligence to dominate Davos agenda as the 54th edition of the World Economic Forum kicks off. And religious fervor assembles at Prayagraj as millions continue to take a holy dip. And now news from the Mahakumbh, the largest religious congregation in the world. As the Mahakumbh enters its 8th day, more than 2.27 million pilgrims visited the religious gathering on Monday morning. And according to official data released by the Uttar Pradesh government, over 2.27 million devotees gathered at Sangam Triveni and took a holy dip at 8 a.m. Indian Standard Time. Despite the chilly weather, a large number of the devotees gathered at the sacred spot in Prayagraj. The attendance of the pilgrims is expected to increase in the upcoming days as 4 key Amrit Snans are yet to come, in fact. As of January 19, more than 82.6 million pilgrims took a holy dip at the Sangam Triveni during the Mahakumbh 2025. The Mahakumbh festival is abuzz with foreign devotees who are visiting Uttar Pradesh's Prayagraj from across the globe, and they perform a snan, dhyan and dhan, which means that the holy bath, meditation and charity. And Deepika, our correspondent, spoke exclusively to some of the foreign delegates from Russia, France and Colombia. Let's listen to what they said.
Mahakumbh Kumbh 2025 is abuzz with many foreign delegates, or rather foreign devotees as well. Right now we have with us a few of the devotees who are here from Russia, France and Colombia. When we talk about Mahakumbh, what brought you here?
Well, of course, the association with the sadhus, and I want to stay here with my family, take Islam in the Ganges, and join. We live in Vrindavan, and every day we take Islam in the Jamuna.
When we talk about Mahakumbh, what is the best thing that you liked?
Kirtan, of course. We come and make Harinam 2 times in the morning time and evening time. And of course Prasadam. Without Prasadam not possible stay. And here all day distribute Prasadam is gone. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada.
That is so beautiful. You're from France, and what is the name given by your guru to you?
My Gurudev gave me the name of Vraja Lakshmi Devidasi.
Vanessa to Vraja Lakshmi, how the journey has been for you?
The journey has been more and more purified and more conscient of the soul and the super soul and the action of Krishna and the action also of our ignorance on the world.
What is the main purpose of visiting Kumbh?
Indian person born here, you are very special because you have a flame in your heart with full of love and affection for each other, and you are already conditioned a little bit about Krishna, and we can feel the quality of Krishna in the Indian people.
Thank you so much, and both the ladies are looking very beautiful in Indian attire. Hare Krishna. So there you heard the foreign delegates who are really feeling special on their visit to India, and they also, gave us the importance and their understanding of Mahakumbh 2025 and the holy dip here. With camera person Shiv Suman, this is Deepika reporting from the Kumbh district of Prayagraj.
The motorcycle rider display team Daredevils of the Indian Army achieved an extraordinary feat on the 20th of January at the Kartavya Path in New Delhi by creating a world record for the highest human pyramid on moving motorcycles. The formation measuring an impressive 20.4 feet and comprising 40 men on 7 motorcycles covered a distance of 2 kilometers on Kartavya Path. This is from Vijay Chowk to India Gate. And with this latest achievement, the team now boasts of an incredible 33 world records, including entries in the Guinness Book of World Records, the Asia Book of Records and the Limca Book of Records. And this year's Republic Day parade will not only emphasize military strength but also celebrate India's rich heritage culturally. The significant tableaus will be depicting 75 years of the Indian Constitution. 5,000 folk and tribal artists will be performing on Kartavya Path on the 26th of January.
Number of 77,000, of which 32,000 are ticket holders. The rest are invitees, including 10,000 special invitees. From the military character, we wanted to become increasingly a broader societal, cultural program. So you'll find that we did some 1,500 odd dance performers were there last time, and there was a feedback from the public that most of it was concentrated around the presidential dais, and the rest of the viewing galleries did not get enough of a view. So taking that feedback into account, we've increased the number to over 5,000 this time, so that entire viewing galleries will basically see the same dance performance at the same time.
India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar laid the foundation stone of the Nandlal Nuwal Indology Center at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Mehta Vidyalaya in the National Capital Delhi on Monday. The registrar, officers, staff and many dignitaries of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan were present on the occasion. The Vice President, Jagdeep Dhankar, said that this new building of the Department of Indology will usher in a new era for the department where students from all over the country will get better education opportunities on Indology with modern facilities.
This day is much beyond just laying the foundation stone of Nandlal Nuwal Center for Indology. In a sense, it is seeding of a transformative journey to rediscover, reassert, reinvigorate the profound intellectual and cultural heritage that has defined India for millennia.
The 85th All India Presiding Officers Conference was inaugurated by the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, and it marks the third time that Bihar is hosting this conference, with the last event held in 1982. The theme of the conference is 75th anniversary of the Constitution, contribution of Parliament and state legislative bodies in strengthening constitutional values. Discussions will focus on the role of the legislative bodies in upholding constitutional principles. During the conference, the Lok Sabha Speaker will release the 8th edition of the Practice and Procedure of Parliament. Additionally, on Tuesday, the Speaker will also inaugurate the Neva Seva Kendra. This is in the Bihar legislative premises, and this is a step towards digitizing the legislative process. More news stories now from across the country. And in a significant operation against drug trafficking, Assam police seized narcotics valued at 1 crore rupees in the Kachchar district and apprehended one individual. Based on confidential information, special operation was conducted on Sunday at the Digarkhal toll gate, and this was under the Kalain police station jurisdiction. India's Ministry of Mines, in collaboration with the government of Odisha, is hosting the 3rd National Mines Ministers Conference. This takes place from today and it will go until tomorrow at Konark in the Indian state of Odisha. The conference is presided over by India's Minister of Coal and Mines, G. Kishan Reddy, with the Chief Minister of Odisha, Mohan Charan Mahaji, gracing the occasion. The Indian Army has been deployed in Rajouri in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir to provide essential supplies, including food, water and shelter to residents. A mysterious disease has been wreaking havoc in this region, claiming 17 lives and affecting 38 people so far since early December. As the energy cooperation strengthens between India and Sri Lanka, the price per unit of energy from Sampur solar power plant has been finalized at $5.95 US. So, Sri Lankan President Anura Kumara Dissanayake said that the price per unit from the joint venture between National Thermal Power Corporation and Ceylon Electrical Board has been negotiated and finalized recently. The 135 megawatt project is part of India's contribution to bilateral energy cooperation, highlighting its role as a global leader in renewable energy and a key partner in advancing Sri Lanka's transition to sustainable energy solutions. Still to come here on DD India News Hour, the animation film Mufasa: The Lion King picks up to regain the top spot at the American box office over the weekend.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. And now let's take a look at the top grossing movies in North America.
In a long holiday weekend filled with excitement, Disney's Mufasa: The Lion King reclaimed the top spot at the North American box office despite ceding the throne just a week ago. The animated adventure earned an estimated $15.5 million from Friday to Monday, boosted by the Martin Luther King Jr. Day holiday. In the second place, One of Them Days, a comedy drama starring Keke Palmer and SZA, raked an estimated $14 million. The film follows two roommates desperately trying to avoid eviction after a financial setback. A new horror release, Wolfman, starring Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner, came in third with a disappointing $12 million over the long weekend. Despite high hopes, the film's performance fell below expectations. In the fourth place, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 took in $10.3 million. The popular franchise continues to perform well, but dipped a spot from the previous weekend. And still going strong in its 8th weekend, Moana 2 rounded out the top 5 with $8.4 million, helping the Disney blockbuster cross the $1 billion mark globally. It's the studio's third 2024 release to join the billion-dollar club, following Deadpool and Wolverine and Inside Out 2. With these impressive earnings, Moana 2 becomes one of the highest-grossing films of the year, cementing Disney's dominance at the box office in 2024. As the holiday weekend wraps up, moviegoers are flocking to theaters, with these films leading the charge. Bureau Report, DD India.
And now let's get you the sports news. The Indian men's and women's Kho-Kho team scripted history on Sunday after defeating Nepal in the final to be crowned as the inaugural World Cup 2025 champions. The teams in blue, their victory in the tournament will be a pathway for one of India's oldest traditional sports to make a mark globally.
The week-long sporting extravaganza finally came to an end, with India lifting both the men's and the women's trophy at the inaugural Kho-Kho World Cup 2025 in New Delhi. Hosts India were on an all-conquering run throughout the tournament, displaying a masterclass of speed, strategy and skill. While the Indian men's Kho-Kho team beat Nepal 54-36 in the title clash, the women's team outplayed the Nepalese Eves by a massive 78-40 scoreline. The inaugural edition featured 20 men's and 19 women's teams from all over the world, and the successful hosting of the event will help in encouraging the youth to take the sport across the globe. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi also took to social media platform X to extend his wishes for both the teams. He said, and I quote, "Incredibly proud of Indian men's Kho-Kho team for winning the Kho-Kho World Cup title. Their grit and dedication is commendable. This win will contribute to further popularizing Kho-Kho among the youth." Prime Minister also hailed the women's team, saying, "This triumph has brought more spotlight to one of India's oldest traditional sports, inspiring countless young athletes across the nation." Player of the tournament and Indian men's team captain Pratik Vaikar said the inaugural edition of the tournament will definitely pave a way for the sport to grow in the future.
जिन लोगों ने खो खो के लिए लाइफ दी है अपनी, क्योंकि ये ऐसा नहीं है कि 2 साल में आ रहे हैं और वर्ल्ड कप हो रहा है, ये लेगेसी है बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स की जिन्होंने खेला है। तो मुझे लगता है कि उन लोगों को ये श्रेय देना चाहता हूँ कि बस मैं एक टॉर्च बेरर हूँ अभी खो खो के लिए, बट उनका श्रेय क्योंकि उन्होंने खो खो खेलना स्टार्ट किया था और वो खेलते रहे, इसीलिए खो खो आज इस मुकाम पे है।
Indian women's team captain Priyanka Ingle said the tournament is special not just for India but for the sport as a whole.
ओपनिंग सेरेमनी से लेकर आज जो हमने फाइनल जीता तब तक हमारी हमारी फेस से स्माइल ही नहीं जा रही, क्योंकि ओपनिंग सेरेमनी भी इतना बड़ा रहा है कि मैंने कभी किसी टूर्नामेंट्स में भी इतना बड़ा ओपनिंग सेरेमनी नहीं देखा। उसके बाद हर एक मैच हमने बहुत मार्जिन से जीता है।
The Kho-Kho World Cup finals witnessed an illustrious gathering of dignitaries, adding prestige to the historic sporting event.
The week-long fun has come to an end, but the inaugural edition has definitely uplifted the game and has boosted the morale of not just the present men's and women's team, but also everyone all across the nation. As this is just going to be the beginning of a spectacular Kho-Kho fest that the world is going to witness. With camera person Naveen Kumar, this is Priya Yadav for DD India.
The Indian Grandmaster Ramesh Babu Pragnananda defeated Pentala Harikrishna in the second round of the chess tournament at Wijk-aan-Zee, which is in the Netherlands. Pragnananda secured 3 extra pawns in the endgame, and Harikrishna conceded on the 55th move. With this victory, Pragnananda moved into joint lead with 5 other players. Gokesh is among them. On the other hand, he played a fighting game and was held to a draw by Vladimir Fosadev in the second round. Fosadev kept Gokesh under time pressure and had a positional advantage at one point, but the 18-year-old world champion remained composed to secure a 43-move draw. In the challenger section, Divya Deshmukh and Ramesh Babu Vaishali also drew their respective games. The defending champion Yannick Sinner has advanced into the Australian Open quarterfinals on Monday. The top seed dropped a set before coming home 6-3, 3-6, 6-3, 6-2 against the dangerous Holger Rune. And this happened in Melbourne, with both men needing medical attention in the energy-sapping heat. The world number one wrapped up the opening set in 33 minutes, and it was the second set Sinner in the second set that Sinner had dropped in the tournament. He only dropped the second set in the tournament, having not done so in the previous 13 matches. But Sinner clinched the third and fourth sets to bag the match. In another match, American Madison Keys upset Elena Rybakova 6-3, 1-6, 6-3 in a roller coaster match to march into the quarterfinals of the Australian Open. She was well in control of most of the match in this last 16 tie, barring a rough patch in the second set when she lost 4 straight games. Rybakina seemed to be struggling with a lower back injury, and Keys was able to play aggressively to neutralize her big serve and take control of the match. Ukraine's Elena Svitolina recovered from a subpar start to charge past the Russian Veronika Kudermetova 6-4, 6-1 and reached the last 8 of the Australian Open for a third time. The 30-year-old was 4-1 down in the first set, but upped her game and rattled off the next 5 games and put 1 foot into the quarterfinals at the Grand Slam. The Australian broadcaster Tony Jones has apologized to Novak Djokovic for comments that he made on TV that the 10-time Australian Open champion considered insulting and offensive. Jones had mocked Djokovic and the Serbian fan, saying that the 24 times Grand Slam champion was overrated and is a has-been. The teenage qualifier Lerna Tien's Australian Open fairy tale ended as Italy's Lorenzo Sonego blasted into the Grand Slam quarterfinals on his 26th attempt. Tien wilted on the hot and humid day at Melbourne. He succumbed 6-3, 6-2, 3-6, 6-2. And it brought the curtains down on a breakthrough debut tournament for Tien, who stunned the 5th seed Daniil Medvedev in the round 2. Gibby Jansen's double penalty corner conversion propelled Odisha Warriors to a 4-1 win over Bengal Tigers in their Women's Hockey India League match on Sunday. The Warriors' third victory in front of their home crowd. This has taken them to the top of the table. Now, Michelle Phillette had opened the scoring for the Warriors earlier in the second quarter before Gibby Jansen doubled the lead with just minutes later. And also, the Tigers pulled one back thanks to Udita's drag flick towards the end of the first half. However, the Warriors killed off the match in the fourth quarter, with Jansen scoring her second and the captain Neha Goyal also piling on the Tigers' misery. Let's look at the men now. In the men's category, Kalinga Lancers came from behind and won a high-scoring thriller against Delhi Pipers on Sunday. The goalkeeper Toby Reynolds-Cotterill saved 3 in penalty shootouts as Kalinga Lancers made a massive comeback to pip Delhi Pipers in an action-packed match as the men's league entered its second phase. Lancers rode on Alex Hendrickson and Thierry Brinkman's braces to ease a 3-goal deficit as the two sides were locked 5-5 in the regulation time. Lancers won the shootout 3-2 to record their 4th win and make thousands of happy fans they were home fans, so they were happy with the Pipers suffering their 7th consecutive defeat. Renowned Indian sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik on Sunday dedicated a sand art to the US President-elect Donald Trump at Puri Beach on the eastern eastern state of Odisha. Drone footage from the beach showed the 47-foot-long artwork. It features a side profile of Donald Trump, who's dressed in a blue coat, white shirt and a red tie. The sand art also includes the flag of the United States, along with the Capitol Hill in the backdrop. The artwork also had a message reading, "Welcome to the White House." Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Thanks for watching. And for those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app, which is available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn. Thank you once again for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.